What up, everybody? It's the Built Different Podcast. Today it's myself and data scientist Justin. Today we're continuing the series like we had the original one, Emerging Sports. We talked about Sean and disc golf. Obviously, we've talked to Justin numerous occasions about grappling and jiu-jitsu and his love for it. And so we want to talk about grappling as as a sport and as one of those emerging sports that people are paying more attention to now. Obviously, been around for a little while. Different forms of jiu-jitsu, but now it's getting an even bigger voice, a bigger platform. And so I want to talk a little bit about that today. So first of all, Justin, your experience grappling, is that something that you wanted to look into, doing like a jiu-jitsu tournament, or have you done a jiu-jitsu tournament before?
Yeah, I've done a couple of local tournaments, just like New Breed and stuff like that, which is not. Those are just like local tournaments. It's not like a super high level, and those are fun. They're good to do every now and then, just to kind of get like a realistic assessment of your skills and stuff.
Hmm.
But yeah, they're fun to do in like gi and no gi. I kind of wanted to do more of them before I had surgery earlier this year. So I'm hoping next year sometime I can get back into it. But yeah, doing tournaments is fun. There's a million different tournaments nowadays. They're all over Florida. There's Jiu-Jitsu World League. There's Grappling
Hmm.
Industries, Breed, Naga. There's so many, and they're all pretty good quality like competitors. From what I've seen. So yeah, it's a pretty big scene. It's grown a lot.
I think too, going off of what you just said, because I went to one recently, fairly recently, and it's always cool to see the different age groups. You know what I mean? You have like kids from as young as like 6 years old. I saw older folks in their 70s out there, kind of rolling on the mat. So I think
Yeah,
from that perspective, like it's huge now, and even I think there's a lot of people that aren't even into sport, or that have watched it, that put their kids into it, and they then become fans, and maybe they even train as well. You see that at your gym? Because I'm sure you guys have the different class levels.
yeah. We have like a kids class, and then there's like the adults and stuff. It's actually funny if you go to like jujitsu tournaments. Honestly, like the kids matches are like the most intense. Like the
Yeah.
parents are just screaming at these kids. You feel like you're watching like ADCC or something. It's kind of funny how into it they get. But yeah, there's all age levels, and even the kids, the young kids that are getting into it, the skill level with them is insane, man. You could see kids doing like Imanari rolls and just these crazy techniques and stuff. It's insane the level that like the bar just keeps getting higher and higher.
Yeah, I think that's cool because it started off. What would you say? Probably Brazil. I think Brazil and Japan probably were kind of, there was some pioneering going on there. Obviously Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, and then there was the form in Asia. But it's kind of evolved from there. Like, yeah, it was just one region. Certain regions were like more proficient at it, but now I feel like everybody's doing it, and it's like become more of a worldwide thing. And I think you're right. Like, you see the evolution of it. Like, you used to always look at certain groups, certain nationalities as like, damn, you don't want to, you're fighting them. You don't want to go to ground with them because they're gonna do X, Y, Z. But now
Yeah,
it could literally be anybody from anywhere.
pretty much. Yeah, pretty crazy.
So one of the things that I noticed, and going off of what you were saying about the kids, is like, some of the fight promotions we've been to, they have jujitsu mixed in with like Muay Thai fights, mixed in with kickboxing, boxing, and so it's like a complete combat sport, promotion. But yeah, some of those kids tournaments, I mean, kids rolling on the mat were crazy.
Yeah, definitely. There's some kids that go to my gym that I guess I forget how the kids belts go because they're different from the adults. They don't go white to blue and stuff, but man,
Mhm.
those kids are just like they're animals, man. They're so fast. It's you really have to like try against some of those kids, like the kids that are 12, 13 years old and stuff that are kind of like just starting to be teenagers. Those kids are that's like a different level almost. It's funny because you know you could be like someone my age who was like in their 20s that got their blue belt after
Yeah.
like 2 years. But then that's also you could get a kid that was grappling for his entire life, but then when he turns 18, he gets a blue belt. It's like that's not really a blue belt. He's been grappling for like 10 years, you know. It's funny like how the levels are not quite consistent in that regard.
Do they? Do you guys ever roll with the kids like in your gym? Do you like because
Yeah.
it's like oh, so you guys do. Okay, that makes sense. Because to me, I think it's that's what's great about jujitsu is like any you don't separate people by their skill level. A lot of times, it's like because regardless, working together and working against each other, you're gonna learn and you're gonna become sharper. You know what I mean? So a kid, you're rolling with a kid, and it's like helping them grow and helping them learn. And you may, like you said, it's a different feeling for you than if you had somebody your size. So it's like you're thinking through techniques as you're doing them, and but on a smaller body, faster, smaller body. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's good to like just get those different looks with different, different body types and stuff because, you may have great jujitsu on a guy that's, 120 pounds and your size or like a
Mhm.
kid or something, but then if you roll with a guy that's 240, is your jujitsu still good? Do your techniques still work? So it's good to like play around with to play with different people and stuff and kind of just see where your holes are.
Yeah. So going kind of off of that is the tournaments, and this is kind of where we were going with everything. Is that the sport has, I think, grappling has just grown so much. It's like a lot of people looked at it as one part of MMA, like just a part, a fragment of MMA. But it's now I feel like it's standing on its own as a its own entity. We're strong enough, and the popularity is great enough that people are tuning in to see some of these tournaments now, and I think it's incredible as well because you have people. Because the way I got into grappling, and what's I'm getting like I'm starting to watch these tournaments a little bit more. But the way I started getting into it is, I remember, watching the UFC and then hearing some of the big names entering into some of these tournaments. I'm like, damn, I want to see what they do against these guys and girls that do. That's all they do is jujitsu. You know what I mean? That's all they do is grappling tournaments all the time. How does somebody that's training every aspect of the sport do against that person that's like all they do is roll day in and day out? You know what I mean? So some of these tournaments, I know the one in Abu Dhabi was the. I'm not sure if it's still the biggest one now, but I remember at that time it was the big one, and you would see some names going down there. I'm like, damn, and that's what started to get me intrigued with this, with watching just the pure grappling matches. Was the names going in there and seeing how they did, and then you'd find this world class guy or girl that was just wrecking everybody, like the guy that's a girl that's destroying somebody in Bellator or UFC or PFL or one goes against these grappling aces and just get destroyed. I thought that was that's kind of what got me into it and has me like kind of like similarly to how I got into UFC was just like looking at some of the names and then kind of watching a bunch of the old fights. I'm doing that. I've been starting to do that now with these grappling tournaments.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's crazy. It's interesting to see like uh guys from like the UFC or something going to ADCC or like Polaris or something like that. Like I've seen Nicky Rod fight. He competed against like Luke Rockhold one time. I thought that was kind of
Yeah.
cool. Or Cowboy Cerrone, he competed against Craig Jones. And it's crazy because in their own they're different disciplines, MMA and jiu-jitsu, but it's crazy
Hmm.
to see like the skill gap whenever you see someone that's a high level MMA fighter, and then they go against someone like Craig Jones, who's like an ADCC like silver medalist. But I mean, man, it's like no competition. It really shows like the levels to the sport. It's nuts.
Yeah, and so I think one of the bigger things now um, is we were talking about this before we start recording, but some of the personalities now in the sport. You
Yeah,
mentioned Nicky Rod, obviously Gordon Ryan now is the man, and so with Gordon Ryan. I feel like him and some of these other individuals that are out now, they're so popular now that I think they're pushing the sport forward as far as like casual, viewers because they're I think jiu-jitsu for so long was like it's just it's not really your personality really doesn't shine through. You're not like
Yeah,
kind of hard to say. Like you had guys and girls that would roll and they were like just amazing at what they did, but they didn't really show their personality outside of grappling. You know what I mean? I feel like now a lot of these personalities are shining, and I think is making pushing the sport forward. And I think there's just more platforms and more tournaments now for them to compete in.
yeah, definitely. I mean, I think especially with like Gordon's case, I think social media definitely helps him a lot.
Yeah.
He's definitely very outspoken on there about a lot of things, but things like that. And I think even just with the popularity of the UFC, I feel like
Hmm.
it's kind of in a way raised the popularity of jiu-jitsu too, because it's very easy to be like, you get into the UFC and then you from the UFC you splinter off and then you get interested in boxing. Maybe you watch the Conor McGregor fight with Floyd Mayweather, now you're interested in boxing, or
Hmm.
you watched what's a good grappler in the UFC? I don't know if you watch Ryan Hall back when he was still competing pretty regularly. Maybe then you go watch him do ADCC or something like that. It's cool. It's the UFC kind of helped bring that audience, and then people splinter off into the things that they wanted to do. So
Hmm.
um, I think that's been a big help for jiu-jitsu. And then honestly, I think jiu-jitsu is still like a pretty young sport. Like
Yeah.
I feel like leg locks were still didn't really become pretty big until like what 10 years ago, 10, 15 years ago. So it's still a
Yeah.
very young sport, so it's just continuing to grow and be popular in its own. And I think at this point there's more jiu-jitsu schools in the world than there are like anything else, to be honest. I feel like they're so common now.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's growing everywhere. It's crazy.
Yeah, and speaking of leg locks, it's funny because I went down this Gordon Ryan rabbit hole, and it was like I was watching like all these different documentaries on him because I'm like, for me, like that hasn't, it's I've kind of stopped. Like I had kind of gotten away from the grappling scene and watching the tournaments, and then all of a sudden I just started seeing his name popping up everywhere. Gordon Ryan this, Gordon Ryan that. Like I'm on my like Twitter feed of combat sports, and I'm seeing Gordon Ryan and like who's this dude? Like I keep hearing about all the time, and so I was like, I remember us going to watch a fight. You and EJ were talking about Gordon Ryan and some of the guys that he's grappled with, and I'm like, how good is this guy? Is he really that good? Like, or is it just like it's like in a social media type of thing? So I was like, let me just investigate for myself. So I started watching a documentary on him, and it was like from start of his career to the finish. I mean, not to the finish, to where he is now, and I was just like, okay, damn, this dude is the real deal. And seeing like some of the innovative things he's done, seeing like just how he was taking like these guys that were world class, multiple golds, and then just easily rolling them up and submitting them. Um, one of the ones I was interested in because he has amazing leg locks was both guys have amazing leg locks, but Husamar Paul
Oh
Harris,
yeah,
remember from UFC, the guy used to just crank people, even refs. People were tapping the ref. He
yeah,
just
yeah.
you know,
Everybody knows
and
him.
so I wanted to see them in a leg lock battle. So that was one of the fights that was in the like little documentary I watched, and I went back and actually found it and watched it. So I wanted to see how that went down because Husamar will probably try and prove a point and like hurt Gordon. You know what I mean? And that was a good match.
That was, yeah. Gary, before Gordon, there was Gary Tonin too, who was like, I know that they're like training partners and stuff, and I think Gary was his teacher at one point. But yeah, like I think Gary fought Paul Harris too, and that was kind of like holy crap, like this guy's insane. This team, the Danaher Death Squad, they're legit, with all the
Yeah, that
leg
squad. Yeah.
locks and stuff that they were well known for back then. That was a long time ago now, but um, yeah, it's that whole team. I feel like just pioneered jujitsu with Danaher and Gary Tonin and who else was there? Eddie Cummings. Trying to remember Nikki Ryan too. That whole team. I think pioneered jujitsu for a lot back in like the 2010s, and then it's kind of unfortunate that they split up and stuff. And there's kind of the B team and stuff now, but um, yeah, just the level of jiu-jitsu is so much higher now. It's bananas.
Yeah, that's what I thought was cool. The Danaher Death Squad, and I don't know, as you know, grappling. Like I think from years of watching it in MMA, it always felt like we had BJ Penn. That was our guy for a little while in the States, in the US. And then we had a couple of guys and girls that were like, that were good grapplers, but they weren't, there was always this stigma that Brazil had it on lock, the grappling world on lock.
Yeah,
In Asia there was Shinya Aoki was a guy that I always used to watch in Pride, and he was that guy that was like, if he ever came to America, he's gonna destroy our grapplers, you know what I mean? So there was like regional people, but in the U.S., I don't know, maybe, and this is my own perspective, and kind of I was biasing our grapplers, but we didn't have that notoriety, and I think now I'm the reason why I'm kind of like Danaher Death Squad and Gordon Ryan and that team. I'm like, damn, like we're on, we're kind of on top now, I guess you would say, Laura. Like we have got respect now, and our, maybe one of our guys is finally that dude. You know what I mean?
yeah, definitely. It's the Brazil, of course, since like it's Brazilian jiu-jitsu. Of course, they were like
Yeah,
amazing at the sport for the longest time, but I mean, America's come a long way with their own representation with like like the Dana Hard Death Squad now that like what we were just talking about, but even just I think what was it? Was it Eddie Bravo when he fought? I think it was Hoyler Gracie. I think that was also a
hmm,
big step for like American Jiu Jitsu because that was like I don't know if Hoyler had ever lost at that point or something like that, but that was a very big match too. That was kind of like a I think a turning point in jiu-jitsu was seeing a Gracie lose to an American, So
yeah,
there's been all sorts of like matches that have kind of showed the kind of ebb and flow of jiu-jitsu, but overall, America's definitely grown a lot in the sport.
yeah. I know Eddie Bravo was a guy too that I always just look at from the American grappling scene that I was always respected, and he was like super innovative, and I think he did a lot to push it here in the U.S. as well. We had some names that were, guys and girls that kind of pushed it, but I think now from like a just because it's kind of like boxing, where what boxing kind of used to be and where I hope is getting back to now is you had that individual that was the man, you know what I mean? Kind of like
Mm.
the pound for pound list, and now I feel like, and I don't know, you tell me what you think. Is Gordon Ryan the man right now? Is he like that top dude, like the one that you know everybody's gunning for?
I mean, if he's not, I don't know who is. Like at this point, I know he had that kind of that rivalry with Felipe Pena because Felipe beat
Yeah,
him
yeah.
twice in the past, but
And he beat him once. Yeah.
yeah, and they fought. I want to say like a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago, and Gordon won. So I I don't really see anyone else that's beating Gordon. So and man, I
Do you
mean,
think because
Gordon's
it's
record is insane. What were you saying?
Do you think because he's beat him twice, Felipe's beat him twice, and Gordon's beat him the one time, that they should do it like they should do it again and see if they tie, and then have like the tiebreaker, and then because that in my research on Gordon Ryan, I'm like looking through all his history and everything and find out who he is and what he's accomplished. That was the one thing that I was kind of like, I guess the kind of mark on his record is the Felipe fights, and Felipe beat him twice.
I think that Gordon's open to it. I think he wants to fight and get those kind of even things out with Felipe, but I don't know if Felipe necessarily wants to do that. At least that's what Gordon says.
Okay. So I'm really interested and one of the things I've seen is that they're on UFC Fight Pass now, so I'll probably watch some of those because I think that's was probably one of the biggest things for me getting into it is finding out where they were. Obviously, you got to kind of do a little research a lot of time to find out how to watch these things,
Yeah,
but I'm gonna definitely be tuning in a lot more because I love the dynamic of this guy or this girl is the top dog in the sport, and seeing people try and challenge them. And the one thing I will say though, and maybe I need to lean on you for this, or I need to do more research, is the rule sets. The grappling tournaments I went to, I'm like, what? Like, okay, I saw some rules here, and okay, I understand this, and then I'm like, okay, why are they letting them giving this person a back take? And like, I'm not like, it's just, I think that's one of the hardest parts for me, and maybe for other people, is like all of the different rules and of these different tournaments.
Yeah, I know. And every pretty much every tournament has their own rule set, and generally speaking, a lot of them kind of follow the same sort of idea. There's either like points tournaments or like sub only tournaments. So
Yeah.
something like if you're talking about like local tournaments, the ones that I've seen are pretty much all like point tournaments. Like New Breed was a point tournament, where you
Hmm.
get like two points for a takedown, two more for I can't remember what it was. It's like three more points for a guard pass, and then if you get mount, it's 4 points. I think if you get the back, it's five. Stuff like that. It's pretty basic stuff. And I think when you go to, I want to say IBJJF, the rules are a little bit different, or I think it's the time limit is different too. I'm not the rule sets. I'll be honest, are kind of confusing to me too, because then there's
Yeah.
you read about like EBI, which is sub only, and then there's ADCC rules, of course, and even in Orlando at like there's the Leleo code opens.
Hmm. Hmm.
They
That
have
one
I
was
think
weird to me.
yeah
That
those
one was weird to me. Remember we were watching that, and I'm like, what is going on here?
Yeah, I think those are sub only as well. I have a couple teammates that have done those, where it's like overtime as you start on someone's back and you have to,
Yeah.
or you start in an arm bar. I don't know how. I think they just flip a coin or something. I don't know how they pick which one to do, but yeah, there's all sorts of different rule sets, and you kind of have to plan ahead of time of which one you're going to be doing because if it's a sub only tournament, you're probably going to be competing a little bit differently than you would be if it's a timed scoring match. It's things are a little bit different.
Do the one thing as well is the weight classes. How does that work typically in these tournaments?
I think they're pretty basic. It's like every 10 pounds. I think the one
Okay.
new breed that I did was yeah, it was about every 10 pounds or so. But at like I think I weighed in at like 149 or something. So it's not like UFC like 145, 155.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Hmm.
It's like 149, 150 or something like that. That's one weight class, and the one below is like 139. So it's around like every 10 pounds roughly.
Yeah. And then for your personal preference, gi or no gi, what do you prefer to?
Um, hmm, that's a good question. I like playing with the gi a lot lately. I like playing with lapels and stuff like that. I think it's
Yeah.
fun to annoy people with that stuff. So I love playing with lapels. I've gone down a pretty deep rabbit hole the last. I haven't been able to train in a couple months just because I had surgery, but before that, I was going down a whole rabbit hole of playing with lapels and the different lapel guards and stuff like that, and it's really fun to do. And Nogi's fun too. It's much more faster and stuff, and it's more slippery and hard to catch people in submissions. But I think I like gi more probably. You've done jiu-jitsu, right? Have you done gi or no gi?
It was gi. I never did no gi.
Oh, you never did no gi. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I saw some crazy chokes with the gi too, man. Like that's the crazy part about the gi is like using it, um, and using it to move people, using it for leverage, using it like I said for chokes. I thought that was really crazy.
Yeah, there's some you can do
So,
some crazy stuff with the gi.
stuff of nightmares after watching, some of the '90s action movies, Steven Seagal, and these movies where they're choking people out from behind and stuff. You know what I mean? Breaking that. So somebody put that gear around your neck. It's like holy. But
Yeah,
no, it's really incredible. I'm glad with the growth of it. Um, I've always loved it because it's like literally a chess match, using your
Mm,
body and using your limbs and using your weight. And I don't know, it's just even I do want to get back into it. I know I keep saying that, but I felt like I left something I need to finish. But just even the sweeps and just the different, just how many different things you can do and how many different ways you can manipulate your body
yeah,
to submit somebody. And it's an incredible sport, man. A thinking man and woman sport on the mat.
yeah, definitely. And it's cool to see. Um, it's cool to see like people's games, like how different they can be. Because
Hmm.
there's a few other purple belts in my school, and I feel like we all have pretty different games. It's pretty crazy. We have this one kid in my school who's insanely good at triangle chokes. We have this other kid that's a purple belt that is really good at wrestling and like takedowns and stuff like that. And it's crazy how you can become a purple belt, or how you can have people at the same belt level as you, but your skill sets are completely different. I feel like my strength is like my leg lock game. That's what I go for a lot. But yeah, it's crazy. Just you can really kind of make your own style. You know, you can make your own art, basically, your own martial art.
Would you ever be interested, and I'm gonna segue this into something, that's what I'm asking. Would you ever be interested in running your own gym, like having your own grappling gym or martial arts operation or anything like that?
Like me being like the professor, like the teacher.
The teacher or even the gym owner, just running it potentially.
Uh, yeah, why not? That'd be kind of cool.
Well, you can through what I wanted to segue into, and this is more of a shout out to Chance Glasgow and Randy Fry and the team at Good Dog Studio. Um, been to a couple of their presentations for their martial arts tycoon game, and so you could get the chance to do that, through the game that they're building. It's really cool. I don't know if I ever showed you the video, but they're raising funds right now, and just want to give them a shout out. And I actually, maybe this is a call out to Chance to come on here and like talk about the game, and it'd be a good segue to this because he's a, I don't know if I told you, he's a jiu-jitsu guy as well.
It's
He's heavy into it, and I forget what gym he's at, but love to introduce you guys, but also to just show off the game. But yeah, just want to shout them out. Anybody that's interested in potentially like getting a feel for what it feels like to own a gym, and you know, this gym, I mean, it's expansive, this game, even from like the clothing items all the way down to the equipment, to getting
yeah.
members in and things like that. It's like it's have you ever played Roller Coaster Tycoon or like Sim City, those type of games? It's like
Yeah.
that but for MMA and for combat sports and the gym aspect. So I mean, really great graphics. And Chance was one of the guys that started Call of Duty.
Oh wow.
So he's like, yeah, he's got some clout in the video game world. So um, he was one of the founders of it. So he knows what the hell he's doing, and the team they have is incredible. I think one of the guys that does the music, I think, was from, what was it? The group I told you, is it Synthwave, or
Uh,
Synthwave is the music, the genre of music you like now. I
yeah.
forget the name of the group. It's like a local group that you said is a heavy metal, like one of your
Oh,
favorite
trivia.
artists.
Yeah.
Trivium, yeah, sorry. Synthwave is the genre music. Yeah, he's from Trivium and he's doing their soundtrack. So they like, I mean, I want to shout them out on here because it's a segue from what we're talking about, and maybe we'll put their links for their game and everything, whatever Chance kind of deems they can kind of show right now out there. But shit, I'd love to own a gym, and this is the closest way you can get to doing it because it's very realistic. So
Nice.
um,
Check that out.
yeah, we'll have to link up with Chance and his group so you can see it and test it out, and then talk grappling with him. So with
Yeah.
that being said, any grapplers out there, anybody that's into the tournaments, anybody that wants to further educate me as well, I know Justin will, but and talk about these tournaments and the rules and everything. Like, comment, subscribe. Tell us who your favorite grappler is right now. Is Gordon Ryan really the man, or somebody else? Kind of let us know. So that being said, we hope you guys have an excellent week, and peace and blessings, everybody. Take care.